Okay.
So we are here today with David Scanlon from Enterprise Ireland. We're very, very lucky that you've come over to spend some time with us today.
Delighted.
We obviously have been to Ireland a couple of times and met some of your Irish businesses, so we've seen some of the success stories that you've been involved in over there. So keen today to learn more about your success within social media.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to quickly introduce yourself, what your role is with Enterprise Ireland now?
Sure. I work in the Internet Marketing Unit in Enterprise Ireland. Enterprise Ireland is the Irish government agency that's charged with developing Indigenous businesses and helping them to export themselves overseas. And in the Internet Marketing Unit, we really focus on working with our companies who are planning to use the Internet to grow overseas. So we would see that online marketing is the most cost-effective way of entering a new market. So we work with companies, helping them develop their strategies, challenging them on what they're planning to do, and signposting them to what the best practice in their sectors are.
Yeah. And you are the social media advisor on...
Yeah, of late, in the last 18 months or so, more and more of our companies who are coming to us are obviously querying us on social media and the challenges there and the opportunities there, because there's an awful lot of confusion about using social media for our companies. So sure, we offer advice on other aspects of internet marketing, so we'll talk about emailing and email newsletters and your corporate website, but again and again, social media, it crops to the top.
Big challenges for social media that you meet with the Irish companies?
We work with primarily business-to-business companies,
yeah.
and I think that a lot of the focus from social media, from the social media experts and the gurus and the sales guys, it's really around brands and business-to-consumer. So there's been an awful lot of research and studies and case studies produced, but it tends to be for the consumer brands.
Yeah.
Because it's seen as a good marketing channel. It's a good way to mass market and engage with a lot of people. So there is a challenge in converting that over to the B2B space, because there isn't the same need to promote the brand presence that you'd have in the B2C space. So that's a big challenge, is converting the learnings from B2C over to the B2B space. So that would be one of the big things. And I think one of the big fears that B2B companies have and certainly sort of the traditional CEOs and traditional management structures, there's a lot of fear of reputation damage. If we start talking to people on these channels, they might say bad things about us. Almost as if social media itself is a catalyst for people saying bad things, whereas they could very well be saying bad things about you anyway, you just haven't been listening for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So they're two big challenges, getting over that fear, getting senior management to move past that fear.
So is that typically where it goes wrong a little bit? People look at the business-to-consumer model and they just try and force their business-to-business?
Yeah, I think the fear informs a lot of what they try and do. So they look at all of the various projects that they could do and all of the various platforms and say, which of these can we control the most?
Yeah.
And you see lots of companies doing things like saying, well, we have a blog on our website, and all it is really is a glorified news page, because no one can comment. So they say, yeah, box ticked, I have a blog, I'm social media, I'm 2.0, and it's only because they can control it. And there's no engagement, they don't have to engage with the consumer there. So that fear is definitely dictating a lot of how they form their strategy. So that's the problem.
So within the ones that are really getting it right at the moment within the business-to-business, is there some common factors there?
Yeah, I think the people who are getting it right, and I suppose you'd see certain businesses and business types doing this better because they're early adopters. So a lot of the technology and software companies will probably they're doing this longer. They've made the mistakes earlier, so they're probably doing it. They've made their mistakes almost in the dark when no one else is watching, and they seem to be the leaders now. But there's nothing particular about those businesses really that makes them any better. But what they're doing better is that they're better at listening, which I think is a key challenge, is listening to what your customers are saying, and they're not afraid to make mistakes.
Right.
Maybe because they've made the mistakes already when no one was watching, but they're happier to make a mistake and admit it. You know, and it's kind of almost like it's analogous to where people were engaging with technology first in the business world maybe 20 years ago, when computers started coming in and emails started coming in, and everyone was terrified of sending an email that they said the wrong thing in. And people were like, well, I'm not going to send this email in case it goes to the wrong person or I forget the attachment, and there was this massive fear around it.
Yeah.
And you know, you got over that. The business world got over that, and now people send email all the time and they make mistakes, and it's not that big a deal. You know, I think social media will move to that space as well, hopefully, soon.
It will. It has a little bit of.
No, it has, absolutely. It's becoming more mainstream, but there's definitely still fear.
Yeah.
There's fear when people see someone saying something bad about them online, and you can see them saying, well, gosh, am I going to respond?
Yeah.
You know, what will happen if I say something back now? I don't want to start a flame war. You know, I don't want to come in and be seen as being, like the 300-pound gorilla in the room and telling everyone they're wrong and I'm right and you're not listening to me or whatever.
No.
You know, so there's still definitely a lot of fear.
Is it mainly the IT sector then that has adapted it and run with it, or is there certain other sectors that have been?
You kind of see, definitely the tech sectors, as I said, because they've been possibly doing it longer, and you know they're early adopters across all technologies, and they've been doing it a couple of years. Other businesses that seem to do it very well would be sort of lifestyle businesses, so smaller companies, because. And this is one of the key things that I've noticed in the last couple of years around the use of social media, is that people who are more passionate about what their business is, that passion, you know, because the web is an impersonal place, because you're not actually there with somebody, so you can't get a good feel for a person. But someone's passion for what they're doing will shine through, even in 140 characters of Twitter. You know, if someone really loves making chocolate or making coffee or whatever it happens to be, you'll know it. You'll sense it through what they say and who they talk to and who they talk about. So people who are running lifestyle businesses because they love what they do, small bookshops and boutique interior designers, whatever it happens to be, you know,
anything a bit niche.
A bit niche, exactly. But they love what they do.
Yeah.
And that you can sense that straight away. You know, they're a nerd about their business area.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who works, you know, for a big corporation or even a small to medium enterprise, and you know, maybe they're working in marketing or sales, and they kind of, yes, they know their business and they know their sector, but do they love their business 24/7? Will they be prepared to argue to the death about the smallest pedantic, you know, piece of information on the web about their business or their sector? Probably not. You know, they're probably not being paid enough to do that. So that's difficult for them to buy in to the social engagement, because it is about personality and it is about passion.
Yeah. That's a really good point, actually. Maybe that's why.
You see, like, you know, PR coaches and life coaches and trainers and you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They tend to be embracing it more. Well, it's a good communications channel for them as well, but it's a good platform to show your passion. You know. So.
When we speak to our businesses, it still comes up the question of they're very sceptical and very, but is there actually going to be any money in it? Because isn't it just about brand awareness, and I kind of like money, so.
Yeah, everyone likes money.
Yeah. What do you advise to your people? Is it something that you can expect to see stuff result on the bottom line for this, or is it still a bit?
It's not going to impact on everyone's bottom line. And even if it does, it's difficult sometimes to tell that it did, you know, because you'll get a sale, and unless you're asking every single customer, how did you find out about us? You're not going to know that someone said something on Facebook and they came in through to your site. But for businesses where word of mouth and recommendation is important, then it's a good place to be, because it does enable word of mouth recommendations. So it's just like it's like your traditional old-fashioned marketplace, where, you know, you walk into a marketplace and you want to buy fish or you want to buy vegetables or something like that, and everyone is shouting out they've got the freshest fish. And everyone is pretty much saying the same things about their fish, because there's only so many things you can say about fish, and you can that's like everyone's corporate website. You know, my fish is the best, here's a picture of my fish. You know, so that's like a marketplace, and everyone's just shouting at you. But if you ask someone who's just bought fish or bought fish from them last week, was it good? You know, would you recommend me going to these guys to buy the fish again? then you'll know. So you've got that sort of insider knowledge.
Yeah.
That's how that translates very well into the social web, because you can, at a glance, and it doesn't have to be on-site reviews like you'd see on Amazon. It's just a case of, you know, asking your friends or following what your friends are talking about. They had a good experience at you know, a cinema, a butcher, a bookshop, whatever it happens to be, and those sort of, you know, social recommendations, they lodge well in people's brains. You tend to remember that, and you remember negative ones really as well, which is important. It's important that all businesses are aware of the negative stuff that's being said about them. Even if you don't respond, it's good to know, because that's great market research. That's the other flip side of this. You know, okay, maybe it's not going to contribute directly to your sales, but if a product or service isn't performing well, you'll know about it because people are talking about it. They're saying, I found that bad value for money, or it fell apart after a week, whatever it happens to be. You know, it's like a focus group that you're sort of invited to these conversations. So I think it is massive potential in market research, whether or not you directly engage or you just sort of indirectly listen and glean that information. Really good competitive knowledge that you can implement. Implementing though is the problem, because it's fine, it's lovely to sit back and watch all this really good information about you passing by on the web, and you can sit back and say, look at that, it's lovely, people are saying all these nice things or these bad things, but unless you actually implement something and you say, I'm going to change now because of all this information that I've got, I'm going to go and make a change in my business or how I engage with my customers, then it's useless. You know.
There was an article on the BBC the other day, actually, I'm going off on a tangent here a little bit.
That's right.
And they're saying one of the differences is, in the old days, if you had a bad experience, maybe you had a late delivery in the evening, maybe something went wrong with the product over the weekend or whatever, and you would have to sit back, you would be furious when it happened, but you would have to sit back and wait for the phones to open the next day, or for the phone lines to be, shop to be open again on Monday, by which time people have calmed down. They might have thought about it and thought, well, actually, I knew they were going to come with that delivery, but I wasn't at home, or maybe the product broke because I did such and such. So they kind of calmed down and evaluated the situation a little bit, and it was all right. Whereas today, something goes wrong and people will fly online, and in the heat of the where they're most furious, they'll
where the pain is,
vent all their anger. So there's no filtering. There's no. And that's one of the challenges, isn't it?
It is. The challenge is whether or not to respond to that. You know, and that's going to depend on the person themselves, and that's why the web is so wonderful, because I can look at what that person has said. Maybe it's on Twitter, maybe it's on Facebook or their blog, and I'll have a quick look back at their history. And you know, do they tend to go mad when bad things happen to them? You know, do they tend to be a more rational person? Do they like when businesses engage them? So I can say, right, okay, there's the history of this person. You know, they tend to be okay about businesses coming and engaging with them. I'm going to say I'm sorry, and can we help you in any way, and see where it goes. And you know, 99% of the time people will be so surprised that the businesses actually respond, that all the frustration and the rage goes away. And if you can, this is cliched, everyone says, but if you can turn that bad person around, they'll become an advocate for you. It's corny and cliched, but you know, it really does happen. It really does work. It's happened to me. I've been that person, you know, where I got subsequent or second stage good support, and you get this sort of, you know, segmentation of the web. You get the people who are passive, and the people who just, you know, read everything, and you get this percentage of people who contribute. You know, they're the creators, and you know, they're maybe like 1% of the online audience. But if someone goes to the trouble to write something bad, if they get a good service follow-up, they'll probably go to the trouble of writing a good thing afterwards. So that I will be like that. If I say something bad, and then subsequently the company comes back and does something to reward me or to help me out, I will go on and say, actually, they followed up, they resolved the problem, or they didn't resolve it, but at least they tried. You know, I'll go that extra step and make sure that I communicate that out on my blog or Twitter, whatever it happens to be. So they're worth engaging with people who do create content.